Hello, I'm Mr. Howard, and in this video, probably make it in two parts, but in this video, we'll talk about collections, which collections are a data structure. They are data structures, and in other languages like Java, an array is the closest, that is most similar to what a collection is in Touch Develop. So we can store items of the same type in these collections. So if we make a number collection, it holds numbers. If we make a string collection, it holds strings. So you can't hold two different data types or three different data types in the same collection. Once you create that collection, it is for a specific type, and that's all it can ever hold. So we'll talk about global variables, which we have before, but in this particular program we are making today, they'll be important. We'll use loops to load collections, and we'll use loops to process a collection once we've created it. So to illustrate all of this, we'll create a Touch Develop program that will randomly create 10 numbers. We'll load those numbers in a collection, a number collection to be specific. We'll print that collection. We'll use a loop to print out each value or each item in the string, or pardon me, in the collection, and we'll use concatenation, which is how we combine strings together to add some extra text to that. And then we'll calculate and print the average of the numbers in the collection. So maybe not in this specific order, but we will be doing each of those things. Again, probably will be in two parts, so that you can go to the specific part, either part 1, part 2, that you need for what you're looking for. So let's go to Touch Develop. We're going to create a new script, and we'll make it a blank script. We'll call it collections example, because we're working with collections today. And here we have our blank script. So the first thing that we want to do is go ahead and create some global variables that we can use throughout our program. So again, global in this context means that the variables can be accessed and used anywhere in our program. So we'll go ahead and make those now. Just understand that if you forget to make some that you're going to need, you can always go back to the top of your program and add them. Or if you create some that you don't end up using, well, that's fine. When you're done, you can just delete them at the end. So you do want to try to plan this out as best you can, but if you make a mistake along the way, that's perfectly okay. So the first thing I'm going to do is make a variable called num, where we can hold a temporary number. I'll declare the variable called num. It's a number variable. It holds numbers, and I'm initializing its value to be 0. So I'll declare another variable, and we'll call that sum, because we're going to we'll need to keep track of the sum of the numbers. So we are declaring a variable called sum. It holds numbers, and in this case it's initialized to a value of 0. And then we're actually going to make our first collection. So var, and we'll call it num collection, and it is going to be a collection. So we'll go to collections, and it will be a number collection. So notice when you have your collection menu, you can create location collection, create place collection, create action collection, sound collection, string collection, but we want a number collection because this collection will be holding numbers. So now we've created all these global variables that we can use throughout our program. So we wanted to, if you recall some of our goals for the program, we wanted to randomly create 10 numbers. So we'll do that first. So I'll add a line of code. We're going to use a loop to do that. So I'm going to use a for loop. So for, and we want to go 0 through 10 because I want to create 10 numbers, and I want to add them to my collection. So I am going to say that remember our global variable num, so I'll temporarily set it to this random value. So num, we are going to assign it the value that is going to be random. So we'll use a random range so that it comes from a specific range of numbers. So random range, and we'll do from, let's say, 50 to 100. That works. So we're going to assign our global variable num a random number that's in the range of 50 to 100. So it's a random number between 50 and 100. And now we want to actually load that each of these 10 values that we're going to create. So each time through the loop, we're going to create the random number, and then we're going to add it to our collection. So I'm going to say num collection, and then we want to add to it, and there's add. And notice that we need to add a number to it because it's a number collection. So instead of actually adding the number 0, we are going to add the number that's num, because that's what our random number is going to be. Alright, so we're going to add that random number there, and that's it. That little section of code right there is going to loop through, create 10 random numbers, and load it to the collection. So let's see. Actually, I don't want an extra line, so let's go here, let's add, and let's actually post that to the wall. So num collection and post to wall so that you can see what it looks like. So we created our global variables that we needed. We used a for loop to create 10 random numbers and add each of those. Each time through the loop, we're adding it to the collection. So it has, this particular collection has 10 numbers in it. So I'll run that, and you can see these are all the random numbers that are loaded in that collection. If I run it again, different numbers because they're random, run it again, different numbers, run it again, different numbers. So first part is done, and now we're going to continue on. So now let's calculate the average of all the random numbers in this number collection. So to do that, we're averaging 10 numbers, so we're going to actually sum up all the values first. So I'm going to use a loop to do that. So I'll add a line of code. We're going to add a for loop here, and instead of saying yes, I know that the number collection has 10, but I want to show you a feature in Touch Develop that you can use that's more robust than hard coding a number here, and we are going to use the count, which is the count of items in our particular collection. So I will say num collection, that's our collection of numbers, and count. So we want to go from 0 to the count that's in our number collection. So it will actually go through at the entire number collection. And if we were to add values to our num collection or take values out, take items, I should say, out of our number collection, then this would not, we wouldn't have to adjust this code because it would automatically be tracked in the count. So what we want to do here, I want to sum up all the values. So we have sum up here as a global variable, so it is available for me to use inside this loop. It is global to this program. So I'm going to say sum is going to get sum plus, so the current value of sum plus the item value or the number value stored in my num collection. So num collection, and we're going to use something called at, so at a specific location in the num collection, and I actually need to go back and show you, discuss that a little more. So num at, instead of putting a specific value, I'm going to say num at j, because my loop control variable here, j, is going to go 0 through the number of values in the num collection, so it'll actually loop all the way through. So that's actually what I want to do, and then I'm going to actually take that out, and then at the end of that loop we'll actually print that sum or post it to the wall so that we can see it. So I'm going to run this, and then I'm going to have a discussion with you about our collection here. So I wanted to go through how this works. So the location within the index of the values inside this collection start at 0. So in just about all cases, computers start counting at 0. So this would be num collection at 0, num collection at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. So notice the locations inside this num collection are 0 through 9. Yes, there are 10, but if you count 0 through 9, that's 10 total locations. So if I want to access 75, I would say num collection at 0, 1, 2, 3. Num collection at 3. And that would give me the value 75. Okay, so here's the sum. If you add all those up, that would be 745. If we run it again, we'll get a different sum, 747, 713, because these numbers are randomly generated. So let's look back at our goals when we started. So we have randomly created 10 numbers. We loaded them in a number collection. We printed out the whole number collection, and we calculated and printed, well, we haven't done the average yet. We've only got the sum. So we need to get the average. So let's go back and do that, and then we're going to close out this part of the video, and we'll go to part 2 to do some more work with it. So back to touch develop, and we have the sum. So I'm going to take this line of code out. So we have the sum. So to get the average, we didn't create. So here's an example. I didn't create my variable to hold the average in the beginning. That's fine. I can come up here, create a global variable called average, and I'll initialize it to a value of 0. So I'm declaring a variable called average. It's global. I can use it anywhere in my program. So now I can come down here and say average is going to get the sum divided by, and again, I could just divide it by 10 because there are 10 total numbers in that collection, but this is where we can use that value right here, num collection count. That way if we add or take away values to our num collection, our code is covered. We don't have to edit this code. So num collection count. So I'll divide it by the total number of items in this collection, and so sum divided by the total number would give us the average, and then we'll actually post the average to the wall, run that. So the average is 82.1, run it again, 81.6, run it again, 70.4. So regardless of what the numbers are, that's going to give us the average. So we're going to wrap that up. Let's cover again what we did. We randomly created 10 numbers. We loaded those into a number collection. We printed the whole number collection, and then we calculated and printed the average of all the numbers in the collection. So we'll come back and do this part. This is going to take a little bit longer, and I want to cut the video here. So if you want to see how to use concatenation and use a loop to process the entire num collection, that's going to be in the next video. So that's it for this one. I'm Mr. Howard. See you in the next video.